morning. Welcome to the Brew. I'm your host, Lex. And today we are going to continue our conversation with Molly on crypto. And I think the specialty of the day is going to be crypto mining. It's way beyond me, but Molly's going to break it down. So let's get to it on the opening bell. Good morning, Mal.
So this is a day. This is crypto mining. If we can do this day, we can do any day, Lex.
You sure? Here's my fear. I don't know anything about I don't know anything about crypto day one, and now I'm going to delve deeper on day two and know less.
Right. Does anyone know about crypto mining? That's my question.
I think you do. I don't know. This isn't my shtick.
Yeah. So I don't think it's anyone's shtick. So
you don't think so?
No, I think it's in its infancy. I think even though Bitcoin and crypto has been around a long time, since 2008, which is probably not long, but I think it's in its baby stages and it's complicated. And do we know how dollars do the mass majority know how dollars come into circulation? So
but the dollars are easy, right? So I don't have to mine anything. You go to I have this little credit card and you go to the bank, you put that baby in there and you put your code in, you say how much you want, it comes out.
Right.
And then you put them in your pocket and now you got dollars. Although the Venmo account's way easier.
Yeah. And I think the whole infrastructure they call the terminology they're using is fiat to crypto on-ramping. That's the jargony term.
Jeez, I know.
So the easier they make it, the more we can just take a card or take our phone, scan something, get our coffee. It's on its way, but it's not there yet.
Okay. So in order for me to have these digital assets in my wallet, I need to do some mining. Is that the idea here?
Okay, so there are two groups. There's a lot of people that mine, and there's a lot of people that don't mine, that just use Bitcoin or invest in it. So miners are, I would say, the minority. And it's because it takes a lot of computing power and a lot of energy. It can be expensive. And so you don't need to know technical Tuesdays overviewing crypto mining to be able to get into crypto. But I just like to know what I'm dealing with, because if you know crypto mining and you feel comfortable with it, there will be greater acceptance of this new currency.
Okay. So do I need to have a supercomputer to do this mining, or
That's a good question. I think you can just have a laptop, but I think people, as it's gone on, and we'll get into it, it gets more complicated and more machine intensive. So to be in competition, you have to have, big computing power.
So that's analogous to what I went through in the trading world, right? Because
exactly,
in order to be in competition, once it started moving electronic, I had to have more and more computer power, more and more networking, more and more ability with speed to compete in the marketplace. And sooner or later that becomes so expensive that only a select few can afford it and actually excel at it, right?
Yeah, and we need to do more research on that, because that's a really good question. Maybe, many laptops can all get together and compute together. So I don't know the answer to that. We'll ask.
I still like the idea of having a crypto ETF that mirrors Bitcoin. I think it's BITO, BITO, and just buying and selling that on my computer. Very easy. No mining. Just get long it, get short it. Right.
Yep. I agree. And I really like to see competition in any industry, and that's including currencies. So I'd like to see alternatives that I can use. When I go sign up for my Wi-Fi, I get one choice, and that's never great. So
so this is all leading up to our Monday, Tuesday conversation on crypto. Tomorrow, I just want to remind folks that Will's coming on from Zero Hash. I'm not even going to begin to explain what all that is. We'll let Will do it all tomorrow.
Agree.
But Will's going to be great. He's going to give us the whole the whole tutorial on crypto and what Zero Hash does and how it all fits together. So that'll be great. So
yeah, for live viewers, you can ask him questions, which is
right.
really a great opportunity.
Yeah, he's really good at this. So really good guy. Okay, let's get into mining. The mining intro today. What is mining? Yeah, you've got 8 bullet points here. I don't understand any of them because you're the master. So I'm not even gonna go into it. You just tell me what I'm supposed to know.
Okay, so this is really reductive, but we'll just go for it. So we're gonna start off with just an analogy. So imagine crypto mining like a treasure hunt, and you're looking to earn crypto coins, but the treasure hunt itself, to get the reward of coins, is to find solve puzzles. So the treasure hunt is you're finding a answer to the puzzle, which is called a nonce. N-O-N-C.
A nonce?
A nonce. It's not nonsense. It's called nonce.
N-O-N-C. I've got to go to the Remarkable and write that down.
Yeah.
A nonce. I don't know what that means. It's a new one. Okay, hold on. I got to do this. I'm listening.
So
I'm all ears.
This is a number, and it has to adhere to certain rules. And once you solve this cryptographic puzzle, then and by the way, on the treasure hunt, before so each block, see, this is complicated. So, let me start back.
So you're on a block now. Go ahead.
Before you even start to solve that nonce, and that puzzle, you actually have to take a collection of transactions prior, that have been coming through. Once you get enough transactions, then you take this, it's a blockchain. So you take the hash number from the prior block, which is, once a block is solved, it gets a fingerprint kind of, so it's its own code. And so you take code from the prior block, you take a group of transactions that are coming in, and then you take those two and solve for the next number.
So are those first 2 hashes or numbers or fingerprints, those are clues to the next one?
Yeah, so it's what creates the chain. So every block has to have a nonce from the prior block, and it's solved nonce. So then when you go to solve the next block, you have to take the number from the prior block and solve it with additional transactions, and it goes and goes and goes and goes. So
until we get to 21 million.
Until you get
to it ends.
And then it ends. And then I asked, I was like on my way somewhere, and I just asked, I said, because I hadn't thought about it on the fly. I was like, Alexa, what happens when it all gets solved? And let me get to that point, because you want to understand that. So, because I didn't at the moment. So,
so you're building this string of nonces that becomes this blockchain, right?
Yeah. So you have a nonce from the prior one, collect transactions, and now someone's sitting there. Imagine 007, and he's trying to break into a house, and he puts a code up onto the house alarm, and it's working through codes. So that's kind of what happens. The computing power you need is to solve for the code, trying very many codes. And so once that you click into the correct code that adheres to the rules, that nonce with the transactions and the prior nonce will imagine like it collapses in itself and creates a hash. And a hash is a hexadecimal number, which then gives that block a fingerprint. So that is the block forever. Now it goes into another stage. So once you and I solve this problem with our computers, then we have to broadcast it to the entire network. And that means every computer, and the computer in that puzzle analogy would be like a pickaxe. So every computer is working hard on mining. And we broadcast that out, and every computer, also called a node, will then confirm that code actually was solved correctly. And then if,
Okay. I have a question.
yeah,
So, when the computer or person or whoever's doing this sleuthing
yes,
solves the code, it seems like they would be rewarded with the cryptocurrency itself, right?
exactly.
That's
Yes.
their prize.
Yes.
And what is it? Is it, I mean, is it a cryptocurrency, or is it 1,000 of them, or is it, well, how does it, what's the
Right.
value? I don't get it.
In Bitcoin, you get several coins, I believe. And I don't know if that fluctuates. I think I saw 6 coins, but that could be
Okay.
a fluctuating number.
Okay.
I should check that out. So once before you get that prize, imagine like Super Mario Brothers and coins are coming down.
Yep.
Then before that, when it goes to all the nodes come back and say yes, gives it a thumbs up, and that's called consensus.
Consensus. Okay.
This.
So, and all these nodes are agreeing to this. All these other people who solved the puzzle are part of this blockchain are saying, yeah, thumbs up,
Yes.
consensus, you're good.
Yeah, and then there's two kinds of nodes, and one node is holding the entire record of the blockchain, and then there's like baby nodes that are referencing to the big guys, and they're just holding a section because they can't hold that much information. So
Okay.
yeah, and then once you receive consensus, then it goes on every node for permanent record, and it cannot be changed. And
Oh,
it's there for all time for every single person to look at. Every single transaction recorded in history.
okay. So
Yeah,
this blockchain, it seems like it's like a public ledger of sorts
it is.
of all the records of cryptocurrency transactions and what have you, right?
Right.
And so that has to add some, like you said, some legitimacy to the process. So that if all these people are agreeing to the node and yeah, the code's right, and it keeps building this thing, there's some sort of legitimacy built into that, I would think, right? Is that
I
how
think,
that works?
yeah, they call it transparency. So it creates a really incredible, transparent ledger, and it also protects, having a copy of it on all of our machines. You can't go and change one. You
Mhm.
have to change all of them to manipulate that, which is
Okay.
nearly impossible.
And then I use this funny thing called the World Wide Web, and I found out that when you solve the code, your miners are rewarded 6.25 bitcoins
6.25. Okay.
for every block that they add to the blockchain. So that's, Bitcoin is what, 20, 30,000? Is that 6 times that? So they, 180, 190,000
Yes.
uh, smackaroos.
Yeah. So there's incentive there. So then this was my question I was going to get to, that unless you know how that process works, I asked Alexa, I said, well, what happens when everything gets mined? What's the incentive after that? And her answer, and this is Alexa's research, so I need
Right.
to corroborate this, is fees. So then there will be fees placed on top of that. So I'm wondering, does Bitcoin get expensive? How do you collect those fees? So those are interesting things, rabbit holes to go dive into.
Right. And
Yeah.
I'm guessing these supercomputers, I saw this special on the I forget the name of it, Aurora supercomputer, right? It's like unbelievable. But the amount of electricity and cooling that it takes to have these run is insane. So this
Monster.
isn't for everyday Americans, I don't think. That you need, or people, not you need like insane amount of money to cool these computers, to run the electricity, et cetera, right? It seems like it's for a select
Yeah.
few as
My
well.
my question would be, can 10,000 of my closest friends get together and all hook our laptops up and somehow
Hmm.
compete in that arena? I don't know.
I
So,
don't know either.
but um, it's really interesting, and I always there's a great there's a couple of great documentaries on Netflix, I think.
Hmm.
Um, I'll listen down below, that show people with really huge stores of Bitcoin, really large investments. They're
Hmm.
like Swiss Alps and servers underground, and they're in like silos, and you can't get in, and there's biometrics, and not to get gruesome in the morning, but your finger has to have a pulse to for the biometric. It's some wild stuff.
Right. Interesting. Okay.
So
we have a lot to ask Will tomorrow, don't we?
we do. And I now if you take that and you compare it to other fiat currencies around the world,
Mm-hmm.
um, I like the transparency. I like the scarcity. I like the fact that I can't take a bag of gold into the airport and go
Right.
to you know overseas. They would stop me. I like the fact that it's transferable and easy to move. And
But if you were going to take it as currency, how does it exist as a currency? It's not like a little coin. Is it just digital on your phone, like my Apple Wallet is? I just go up to the machine and tap it. How is it exchanged, or what's the thought process of how it would be exchanged
that's a
for
really good.
for
So
goods?
that's really important. So the dollar actually, and most for fiat currencies, are majority digital. There's not a lot of dollar bills and coins left in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really important to have that that tangible money, for situations. So you have to go back into the subject about what is money, what makes it sound, but when you in comparing current, currencies out there in the world, where I barely use cash anymore.
Well, you like physical cash? I hardly ever carry it. So
Yeah,
why COVID came and everyone's like, "Well, don't touch the money. You get COVID." I go, "No, you won't. You won't get COVID from touching the money." So anyway, I stopped carrying the COVID money around.
yeah,
And then Venmo kind of became very popular.
right,
So I'm like, well, this Venmo thing's kind of cool. I don't have to carry the money, and it's
yeah,
just like cash, right?
yeah.
So and everyone had a Venmo account for the most part.
So this is interesting. So the gold, the proverbial gold behind Bitcoin is that it
Yeah,
is decentralized.
right.
And Web3, which is also a decentralized version of the future of the internet. But one has to look, on the fiat to crypto on ramp. You need exchanges and you need, an app on your phone. And so if I'm using the app on my phone,
Mm-hmm.
these bounce off of centralized servers. So they have
Mm-hmm.
API connections to back indirect connections to the original Bitcoin. And those are, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of 75. The tertiary elements to use Bitcoin are
Mm-hmm.
75% centralized on some of the large servers like AWS, which is Amazon, Google, Alibaba. So that is something that is not often talked about. How,
Mm-hmm.
if someone were to turn the lights off, are we still good with Bitcoin?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then to take it to the physics, extreme, if you're on a deserted island, what kind of currency actually serves you? Dollar bills might make a bonfire. Bitcoin, you can talk about the days you knew about Bitcoin, but what is
Mm-hmm.
of tangible value in different situations? Yeah.
Right. Right. Okay. I have a lot to learn. I can tell you that. All right. Guess what? Markets are open.
All right, let's
Let's see
go.
what we have today. Oh, there's lots of red. Red is down day. Dow down on 240, 243. Nasdaq down a buck 17. S&P's down 30ish, 29 and change. VIX, of course, up a little bit, up towards 17.
Yeah.
So rolling along. One thing I noticed too, and I don't think we have it on this shot, is the treasury market. I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
I'm just amazed that the yield on the 3 month is 5.5%. That's unreal.
So
It was
talk
like
about why is that
it was
unreal?
like well, it's so high. I mean, like I told you before, anytime I make the calculation on when I win the lotto,
Yeah,
I use 4.5% as the interest I'm going to make on the money going forward.
right.
Well, that's too low. It's 5.5 in a money market
Yeah.
practically. So I'm just mystified by that. Not mystified, but I'm just astonished that interest rates are there for money markets. It seems like yesterday I was like, oh, they're 0.75%, which
Yeah.
is next to nothing, right? So that's a significant number, I think, 5%, 5.5%.
Yeah, and so all things willing, next week will be next week we'll talk about debt actually if things go well. So that will be in the conversation of how bond
Yep.
interest rates work in relation to securities, which would be nice tie
Right.
in
Right.
comparing to crypto.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. So I'm just I don't know if I'm happy or sad that interest rates are there. There's a downside, right? It's because we've raised interest rates to fight inflation. So
Yeah.
that means everything costs more, right? So if you're trying to buy a house or trying to buy a car, it becomes more expensive.
And
Um,
it probably also crushes anyone who was holding bonds at a much lower interest rate.
yes.
Yeah.
Unless of course you can hold on until
Right.
maturity
Yeah.
and then you're good. But that is right. So your bond portfolio is not doing well in this environment that you've
Yes.
owned at 1% and now it's 5.5%. Not so bueno.
And that was, that's the safest haven that used to be. So that is, it would be nice to show some places to. I mean, it just it it touches my heart for some people who banked on that,
Yeah.
literally.
Yep.
And
Yep. I remember in the trading days when I was just getting started. Actually, it was before my trading days, so I wasn't getting started. I was still in school. So this is the 80s, right? And that's when interest rates were like that might have been the Carter era. And interest rates were like 18% or something like that.
wow,
And some of the board of trade guys who made a decent amount of money, and it wasn't a ton, it wasn't like hundreds of millions, it was millions. They put their money in 30-year treasuries at whatever it was then, 15%,
wow,
um, and lived for 30 years. Now, they just kept earning their checks, and then the interest rates came way down, and now they have to figure something else out. But man, can you imagine that? Holy cow! I mean, again, there's repercussions of interest rates being that high and what everything else costs, so it's nutty, but
yeah.
still,
This is complicated stuff. And so if you're talking to someone who has gone to work every day and is in another, let's say they're scientists or they are artists or something far removed from the everyday math,
mhm.
they may not know about this. And uh, it's really important to know how money works. And I think the next generations are really understanding,
Yep.
are really savvy compared to, let's say, our grandparents.
Mhm. No,
And
I agree with that.
probably our grandparents who went through the Great Depression are probably learned to get savvy, but
Right. You're kind of on the edge of saying that you'd rather have cryptocurrency over a government backed, bond or bill or something like that.
I
You
think
you might be there. You might be like,
I know.
I'll take the crypto.
I don't know if I'm totally there yet. I do believe that we do need a currency that is immutable. So it just can't be. I still have a blind spot with some of the cryptocurrencies with future technology coming on so rapidly about with quantum computing. When you go watch some YouTube videos and you get a surface level, it's one thing. But
Mhm.
when you go watch an interview from the IBM guys building AI, it is so far beyond what we know about it. And then you see some robot playing ping pong and beating, the world champ. Then you're a little, how secure is this thing? And then you have to become a computer scientist, which you have no time for. So tomorrow's going to be a really great day for that to
Yeah.
get security.
Yeah. No, we'll be great.
Yeah.
Cool. All
So,
right. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, I wanted to know how do you trade an ETF, maybe using your butterfly that we were talking about yesterday?
Well, we have we're running tight on time. I don't think I can share my screen. Um, I looked at Bito or Bito. How do you say that? Is it Bito? Bito?
I just go full acronym on it because
BIT. You just go
I just
BITO.
probably go full you're probably more correct.
Okay. So I looked at the markets in there. Is it open yet? Yeah.
It's probably
They're kind
Bitto.
of wide, right?
Yeah.
So that scares me. Although it's open, it's not horrible. Oh yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. Let's go to here. Let me go to my screen. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So let's go out 38 days. So that's September 15th expiration. This is Bido again. Ma, we got to look this one up and make sure it's one of those crypto things. So look at these markets. I'm just going to do one here. What am I doing? I'm making a butterfly.
Okay.
I'm not going to get complicated yet and make a broken wing. So look at this market real quick, and then we have to run. Sorry, we'll pick up on this later in the week. So 30 cents, 37-cent debit. That's the bid. The midpoint 47. The ask 57. So is that a wide market? It's not horrible. We're using small options. And what I mean by small is my long strike is at the money. You can see the green on the screen here. So that's my first strike. That's considered at the money. So that orange band on TradeHawk is always at the money. I go 2 strikes out of the money. This is call sides. Calls are on the left, puts are on the right. And then I hedge my last leg with the 19. So this is a uniform, what we call a very uniform standard butterfly. Okay. What I mean by that is the strikes are equidistant apart from one another. So the lower strike is 2 strikes under the middle, which is 2 strikes under the upper strike. So they're perfectly uniform. So when you look at this graph, okay, and I'm going to send it over to the what if, which just means what if you did something crazy and you can see how crazy you are. Look how uniform that graph is. And the yellow graph right there is expiration. So this expires, and I said 43 days in September, whatever we looked at. And we'll look at this in depth on our next show about option strategies. But you can see how uniform that is. So you can do all kinds of crazy things with this butterfly to make it non-uniform. And we'll talk about those differences as well. But this is, I'd say, going back to our original question, the Bido ETF, the crypto ETF, this is an interesting little trade. And it's less, it's not as wide as I thought it would be, the markets. So remember we talked about open interest and volume. I like to see really tight markets to do these things, especially as a retail person, right? Because I have to buy offers and sell bids more or less. This isn't horrible. This is manageable. And by the way, before we leave, the maximum profit is where? Right at that short strike, right? So if it closed at 17 on expiration day, I'd reach full potential.
Got it.
Everything expires. So my in the money option, the 15 is going to expire at $2. Those short calls are going to be 0. My long call up above is going to be 0. So I make the $2, right, minus whatever I paid for this spread. In this case, let's call it 47.50 cents. So I make $1.50 on that at expiration. And we'll go through this in detail on the next one when we talk about this.
Correct? Butterflies.
What's that?
Butterflies is your go-to.
Butterflies is my go-to. There's so many things you can do with a butterfly. You can, and it's a way to safely lean, in a direction. So if you have, if you're bullish on something, you can put a butterfly up above on the call side. If you're bearish, you can put one down below on the put side. Right? So, and don't forget, you can do the opposite of these too. So you can do the opposite, which would be a short butterfly, right? And then you want movement. You want big movement because you're doing those for credits. And you collect that credit, and if it expires way the heck away from your stuff, you keep that credit. Okay, right. We'll break it all down, and we're going to be remarkable and use the remarkable when we do this, because I love drawing these things. Right.
The Ethereum logo is almost a butterfly with an inverted butterfly. If you were to put it on TradeHawk, yeah.
Okay, so we have to see it. That'll be on the slide deck when we do it. Okay. I'll bring in the Ethereum butterfly.
Okay.
All right, we'll talk. We'll break this down. We got to run. So tomorrow's Will at 8:15 Central Time, right, Ma?
Yep.
How is it getting up on California time at 6? You got to get up
early.
That
is a whole show. I am noticing such amazing improvements in my whole beingness. I am totally hooked at getting up early, and I highly advise it. It feels horrible at the beginning, and then you just addicted to it. I love it.
Now you're in.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, you're in and you're awake. No nap time.
No nap time.
I take nap time with my little puppy. Where he's like out cold.
We need to see Boo at some point.
Boo will be on the show at some point. Let's answer this real quick. Is the lack of interest in Bido from the retail sector creating the wide markets? So yeah, I mean, it could be retail sector, it could be institutions, it just could be lack of trading, right? So if there is not a lot of two-way paper, meaning buys and sells, and a lot of interaction with uh, um, interest and people wanting to do things, market makers don't have any incentive to tighten those markets up, right? Because they can't get in and out of things, right? They put a position on and they're stuck with it, so they're just not going to do that generally. They're going to kind of hang loose and put the edge in their favor, and that's when the markets get a little bit wider. So I don't know if it's kind of like, is it the chicken or the egg here? Is it the retail not playing that's causing the wide markets, or is it the other way around? It could be a little bit of both. There just needs to be volume, period. It doesn't matter who it comes from, but it just needs to be complete interest for those markets to tighten up. So glad we answered that. I feel much better now. Okay, I feel better.
Thanks for today.
All right, that was good, Mal. Way to go. You're the crypto queen.
I think we all are now. We're all crypto pros now.
I love it. I love it. Great job. I will see you tomorrow with Will.
All right.
That's going to be exciting. So tune in for that. And you have a great rest of the day. And that's the close. Bam. Bye.